Risky supply runs. A Sunday at the front. Tomorrow is Ifany Day, January the 6th. I don't think anything special is going on other than the Russian artillery sending over their greetings. The last few days were occupied with supply duties and fortifying positions. I would have liked to remain with the Hagen crew, but their gunner is back, and therefore I could only paint on the barrel marks with him. Since I'm still supposed to take it easy, I was delegated to office duty, and there, in the warm quarters, together with the sarge and an assistant, I can bring the personal papers up to snuff. At least that's better than constructing defensive positions or shelters in the cold or shoveling snow. Some change is brought about by state duty to our outer posts. We have a few pannier horses who are quickly pulling our supply sled through the snow. Thickly insulated, we are sitting 2 men up on the vehicle and rush to our comrades in the outlying posts. There are very few partisans. We are too close to the front line, and the barren landscape offers hardly any hiding spots to the men from the opposing side. We are still in our winter positions. Shelters are still being built, which always means a long hike. What's really dangerous are the enemy planes that can appear anywhere. To them, any target is worth engaging, and they like dropping a few bombs in our direction. But Corporal Lohnert is on it and steers our sled like an old hand. Everything has gone fine so far. On one run, we witnessed a real feat by the flag soldiers. They were getting very annoyed by the Russian planes and set up camouflaged positions along the supply route, camouflaged so well that even we couldn't recognize them. So as we are on the supply route, 2 ratas come flying up that we apparently onto us. You don't have any choice other than to quickly change direction at high speed. The planes keep diving down on us but keep missing us. Increasingly daring and lower, they kept flying at us. One can hear the onboard guns rattling, and splashes in the snow around us show how close their bursts are getting. As the one machine rushes right past us, it suddenly bursts apart in a fireball and falls to the ground. In a flash of fire, the plane impacts 50 meters away and leaves a field of debris. Now we can hear the 20mm cannon hammer on. 3 anti-aircraft guns have dropped their cover and are firing at the second plane. That one is severely hit as well, but tries to escape. But the damage must be too grave, cause it also crash lands. Smoking, it comes to a halt, and one can see that the pilot peels himself out of the cockpit. By now, we've come to a stop and are lying in the snow next to our sled. One of the flag soldiers yells out, "Ruki Werch," hands up, indicating to the pilot to surrender and raise his hands. But the pilot grabs his pistol and starts shooting in our direction. No time to mess around, and a burst from the 20mm flak shreds apart the pilot and his plane. A sergeant major comes to us and remarks that we had indeed presented a nice bait. With a nauseous feeling in our stomachs, we have to crack a smile, but we're happy to have gotten away without a scratch. I'm allowed to have a seat on the gunner's position of the flak, and I'm amazed how fast the gun can be brought on target. No comparison to our tank gun, but obviously highly effective against airplanes. After a few cigarettes and the exchange of some bacon, We move on to our next position. A shelter with 10 men and a 50mm anti-tank gun. Here we finally get something warm to eat. The men organize the hawk, which is now smelling delicious, with full bellies and some more pork in our mess kit that we had exchanged for 2 bottles of beer. We move on. The next spot is an observation post on top of a hill, from which one can see for miles. Here a forward observer and his radio crew are positioned to direct artillery fire and, in an emergency, call in the Air Force for support. Through a pair of scissored binoculars, I can see very far into the plain, and I notice a few tank wrecks sitting there. These showed up a couple of days ago, and our artillery tossed some good loads right off top of them, remarks the lieutenant. 175mm howitzer strike quite the tune, adds the non-commissioned officer next to him. A jolly crew up here, but I'd rather be in the company office or the tank turret. We joke around some more and just getting ready to head back to our sled when suddenly the lieutenant's head flung around and half his face is splattered all over us. Frozen with terror, I remain standing until the non-commissioned officer, who's already down on the floor, abruptly yanks me down too. "Sniper!" he yells. "Damn shit." They shoot down the officers and then they clean up amongst us. You can't lift your head from cover anymore. A sergeant crawls over and looks the lieutenant over. There's nothing more to do. What a waste. Now we have the problem to get away from here. On the radio, we report the loss of the forward observer and that we can't get out here for the moment. I try to recognize anything through the scissored binoculars, but there's nothing to see but a white desert. Somewhere out there, that bastard is lying in wait for us. It doesn't take long to get dark, and then we make our way back the way we came. No more shots ring out that evening, but again it was damn close. Back to the staff, we make a detailed report and tell the platoon leader what happened. A few days later, a young corporal reports to the office and wants to speak with the captain. Although I'm concentrating on paperwork, I can overhear what's being said. The young corporal is a good shot, but not a trained sniper. He is to take care of the problem at the forward observation post. He has a Mauser K98 rifle with a scope, and I reckon he's taken care of one of the other problems before. Now it's back on my course. I received the order to drive the corporal by sled to the forward observation post. I claim that Lonert was a sledding expert, but that's not accepted and the order remains. Well, said and done, and we are off to the forward post, but this time without planes or other disruptions. I'm not comfortable with this, but an order is an order. Once we get there, I remain anxious and stay in cover, even though the area is not visible to an alleged Russian sniper. Quickly I get on my way back, and I'm curious what else might happen here. 2 days later we hear over the radio that the corporal got the sniper. He brought back a bloody camouflage tunic and a Russian rifle when he returned to the forward post, and thus I'm off again to pick up the comrade. On our trip back, we have some time to chat. He tells me about his childhood on a farm near the woods and that he already hunted as a young boy with his father. Upon my question of how many kills he'd made, he dodges the issue and states that didn't matter, rather how many comrades had been saved was what counted. Certainly he is right, but to dispatch an enemy through a scope must also leave its marks. 2 days later I'm finally assigned to a new crew. Of course, one listens around and pretty fast I could picture with whom I'm getting on board. Inexperienced or unsuccessful commanders are usually assigned a well-experienced gunner. Here one is supposed to give assistance with one's experience and therefore improve the chances of survival for a tank. We talk a lot about things we'd already experienced. With major successes and tank kills, the commander appears a bit depressed despite having been at the front for several months. Of course, we're not immediately thrown into the fire, since both the driver and the radio operator come from a different crew. We first have to function with each other before driving up to the front. Our captain especially is a smart guy. He's been with it since Spain. We are assigned security duty and used as an escort tank. These are our first tasks and not much can happen. The commander would like to prove himself to impress us, but when things become too daring, I can usually express my reservations and we won't quite dash forward or approach the enemy without care. After 2 missions, we've at least destroyed a couple of machine gun emplacements and an anti-tank gun. But I'm thinking it won't remain this quiet in the upcoming weeks, cause the Russian is exploring forward in many sectors of the front.